teams, pretty much all NBA teams, all NBA owners, GMs, they always think about the next 3 years. What are the next 3 years? The next 3 years for a lot of NBA teams are worth of championships, star power, draft talent, maybe something like that. For other teams, the next 3 years are going to be miserable. So they're going to be ranked no matter if they are the NBA champions or the bottom of the NBA. They might be higher than you think. So we're going to jump into that. Also, make sure you like the video before you do anything else. Obviously, liking the video, if you like the video, is the best thing you can possibly do for the channel and me and yourself. Also, make sure to subscribe. We're doing a giveaway at 7.5K, which is coming up very quickly. I think we're almost at 7K already, so thank you guys so much for that. And yeah, make sure you check out yesterday's video. It was a lot of fun. It was a candy tier listing video. And also make sure you vote in the community tab. Look at the community tab right now after this video or anything like that. And vote. I did a poll yesterday that I really need your opinion on. Make sure you vote in that question that I posted about. So yeah, I think that's it. I think that's everything. So let's finally get started. So a quick little explanation when it comes to this ranking that this article is going based off of are, where is it at? Here are the rankings of the future of 30 NBA teams over the next 3 years. Teams were ranked based off of where they are now and where they might be in the next 3 years. For example, a team that is in the lottery now might be ranked higher than a current title contender. Again, a title contender now could be, again, a title contender next year. They're dog duty. Or a lottery team now could get one good draft pick and boom, shoots them all the way up to sort of playoff contention. You see where I'm getting with this? The criteria is how the team's current roster looks, cap management, draft equity, I think that's how you pronounce that word, and overall place in the league. For example, a New York team versus a team in like Minnesota, you know what I mean? So, the last ranked team that they have here, and I can kind of see why they would rank this team so low, are the San Antonio Spurs. Yes, the San Antonio Spurs are ranked 30th, dead last over the next 3 years. I can kind of see why. Obviously, San Antonio has been waiting so long for their rebuild because, again, with the whole Tim Duncan retirement and then Kawhi Leonard leaving, they had DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge there for a couple years, which they should have traded away draft picks or some sort of young expiring players or anything in return for them. They lost them both for nothing, so they have no more, big time draft picks coming in. They have no more young stars other than, Kendall Johnson's good, DeJounte Murray's good, but they don't have the it factor, the go-to guy yet. So the next 3 years for San Antonio, I can see also being not that exciting, good, not really getting anywhere, I guess you could say. I love San Antonio, I love their players, but the next 3 years aren't going to be anything super special. At 29, they have the Orlando Magic, which obviously Orlando just literally blew up their entire team. Obviously over the past year, they're getting rid of Vucevic and Fournier, and even a new head coach coming in. Gonna be a lot of draft picks, a lot of player development. Now, of course, if they do, trade up in this year's draft, which I hope they do, getting a player like, Jalen Green, or heck, if they could even somehow get Cade Cunningham or something like that, that would obviously boost them up higher up on the rankings. But right now, they're sitting with the 4th pick, and out of the 4th pick, no player's really gonna change their franchise, I guess you could say. So, I can see why. And also just with the injuries of Marco Fultz and Jonathan Isaac, it's also gonna be a very slow start to a rebuild that the Magic are on. Nothing super crazy going on there. But at number 28, one I also do not agree with whatsoever, are the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, I know if you're also a Thunder fan, you would also agree with me that I feel like your future, even in the next 3 years, is pretty bright. I mean, you guys have all the draft picks. You have your go-to guy, maybe even an all-star star type of player in SGA. I mean, you already saw what you can do with a guy, even with the equivalent of a Chris Paul. If you can even get a player somewhat similar to that, you're already almost a playoff team again, you know what I mean? So, I think the next 3 years for OKC is pretty bright. I mean, they could be a playoff contention team in year 3, year 2, even if they just get the right pieces to the puzzle. Now, will they? Maybe, maybe not, but they have the draft picks to trade for them. They have young talent to trade for it. They pretty much have everything they need. They just need time, and that's the thing, is in the next 3 years, will they be anything super crazy? Maybe, but it's a big maybe, you know what I mean? So, OKC, I think, could definitely be up higher on this list. Also, at 27, they have Cleveland. I'll agree with that. Cleveland is maybe even looking worse than before, obviously, having a top pick in this year's draft, but, you know, you already have a center in Jared Allen, and projected to go number 3 in this year's draft is Evan Mobley. So are you just going to draft, you know, Evan Mobley? I mean, if Jalen Green falls to you, that would be absolutely amazing, but he's a guard, and you already have 2 guards with Garland and Sexton, so, like, I mean, their future is so just no idea. I don't know what the team's going to look like 6 months from now, let alone 3 years. It's a very hard pickup, and also it seems like they're pretty canon on trading away Colin Sexton, who is their best player right now, so, I mean, you're already trading away your franchise's best player. That team is just, it's looking crazy. It's looking definitely crazy for Cleveland, so I can definitely understand why they're so low. 26, they have the Houston Rockets, which again, you know what's going to happen to them. I have no idea. They are going to get a very good player if they do take Jalen Green, amazing scorer. If they do trade up, you know, for Cade Cunningham, that may be even a better scenario for them. Either way, this team is looking really good. And even Houston, Texas, I mean, I think a lot of players would love to play for the Houston Rockets. It just comes down to, again, will they get anyone? I'm not entirely sure. It is their first year of their rebuild. They didn't really get a whole lot out of their James Harden trade either. Not even really for the Russell Westbrook trade. So, I mean, dude, that team it's looking rough, but it could be worse. I guess, obviously, getting, you know, a top pick in this year's draft is really good, so that's going to really help them, but again, I can really see why their future isn't anything super crazy. Also, the way their team is developed and having right now, I mean, Christian Wood is their best player, and he's like a barely 20-point per game scorer, which is okay, but still, I mean, they could definitely do a little bit more. At 25, we have Detroit, and obviously with Detroit having the number 1 overall pick, you know, possibly getting Cade Cunningham, that's a very, 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 very good start. But that team is still very underdeveloped. You have mismatched players in age, in style. I mean, the team is just a jumble of players. It's not really a team yet, and it's going to be very interesting to see what they do. But again, they're not ranked super low, 25th, because again, they're gonna at least gonna have Cade Cunningham. I'm assuming they are. So, it's a good start. But in the next 3 years, are they going to be, you know, a playoff team? You know, knock on wood. I'm gonna say no, but if they do, that would be awesome. At 24, we have the Minnesota Timberwolves, and this one I will disagree with. I mean, you have Karl Anthony Towns, who's arguably, when fully healthy, a maybe top 5, maybe even top 3 center in the NBA. One of the best scorers for big men, definitely. Obviously, probably the best shooting big in the NBA as of right now. Then you have D'Angelo Russell, Anthony Edwards. I feel like that team is just it's better, definitely in the next 3 years, than what they're making them seem to be. That's just my opinion, at least. I think that team should definitely be higher, unless I'm being weird. At number 23, barely ranked above the Timberwolves and the Detroit Pistons, are the Portland Trailblazers. Yes, the first playoff, maybe even title contending team over the past few years is the Portland Trailblazers, ranked 23rd over the next 3 years. Oh my god, that's crazy. Being, I guess, like a Blazer fan, a Blazer expert, I can see why. Just out of Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum, both of them combined alone is already, I think, anywhere from 90 to obviously MVP caliber, and then a humongous drop-off in talent with CJ McCollum. I can see why over the next 3 years they will see that Portland has no draft picks, barely any team success, and doesn't really have anything really going for them trajectory-wise. I can see why this would be probably the lowest ranked sort of playoff team, because they just have Lillard, and that's it. They have no cap space, they have no draft picks, they have no assets to trade. They're stuck, and it's not like they're attracting any attention because, again, they play in Portland, so who cares if a free agent wants to sign and play for them? It's not going to happen. So, yeah, it's funny because it hurts, but also funny because it makes all the sense. At 22, we have the Washington Wizards, and again, they're a team that's sort of almost in the same boat as a Portland team. They have two really good backcourt players. Some of them don't really know their futures, again, sort of like Damian with Portland. You have Bradley Beal with Washington, and Bradley Beal's already coming out as reporting that he might be asking for a trade even before the season starts. Bradley Beal might. So obviously, with all these uncertainties and not really having the best sort of draft choices over the past few years, obviously Denny didn't really turn out to be the player we all thought he was going to be, obviously with injury and things like that, and also cap space with having Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook taking up a humongous chunk of their cap space. I can see why over the next 3 years for the Wizards they could be, finding themselves in another rebuilding sort of time, which sucks, but it seems realistic. At 21, we have the Sacramento Kings, and you know what? I think that one makes a little bit more sense because, again, over the next 3 years, sure, are they going to be a playoff team? Maybe not, but they have great development in their backcourt of De'Aaron Fox and Tyrese Haliburton. They're still going to have good draft picks. They have good draft stock, I guess you could say. They do have a good tradable asset in Marvin Bagley. They can probably find something to get out of him, even if it is just, again, more draft picks. That's something to trade for. I can see how this would actually be ranked higher because even though they are a worse team, their future with their young players and what they can do is just more abundant than some of the other teams like Portland and Washington, who are just a little bit more constricted to what they can do with their future. So that makes sense. 20, we have the Chicago Bulls. If this current Chicago Bulls team sticks together, I can see this being wrong and they should be a lot higher up. But again, with the uncertainty of Zach LaVine, who knows? Obviously, a lot of people have, made jersey swaps and things like that. And he's even come out and said some things about some places he would love to play, like in LA or with a star and things like that. So Zach LaVine, might not even want to be on the team anymore for that much longer. So I think with that uncertainty, I could see why they're ranked this low. But I mean, if Zach LaVine stays, if they get a good player, Patrick Williams, stays healthy, stays consistent, maybe they get out trade or even get Lonzo Ball on that team with Vucevic. That team's looking pretty good, especially for the next 3 years. That lineup, that'd be pretty sick. I'm not gonna lie. 19, we have the Indiana Pacers, and if you would have asked me this question a couple years ago, I would say the future is so bright for Indiana. It's this, it's that, it's Sabonis, it's Brogdon, it's Turner. Yeah, it's not really like that anymore. I mean, I feel like every season Indiana has some sort of midlife crisis scenario where it's always some sort of rebuilding season, and it could be that again. Obviously I've heard a lot of trade rumors with Miles Turner, Malcolm Brogdon. I think Sabonis on that team is really the only safe person, and obviously them getting a new head coach with Rick Carlisle, it's going to take them some time, at least to me, to really get going again. Can they be a playoff team next year though? Absolutely. But are they going to be anything better or anything more significant? Definitely not, in my opinion. So Indiana being in sort of that mid-tier of teams, I definitely understand it. I don't know what their future even looks like. At 18, we have the Charlotte Hornets. You'd think this would be a lot higher with LaMelo Ball. And that does make sense. But actually, it is kind of terrifying for the Hornets. The Hornets might be too good too quick. They might be too good to, get good lottery, get good draft picks, get good young players to build their team around with Ozzy, LaMelo Ball, Bridges, all that jazz. But they're not bad enough to get good draft picks to build them on. So I mean, not bad enough. They're too bad to not make the playoffs. You know what I mean? So they're kind of in that mid tier of like 8 to like 10 or 11, where they're in that purgatory, and that does suck over the next 3 years. Now, obviously, the development of LaMelo Ball is all you really have to worry about in the next 3 years, because obviously we've seen it with players like Luka Doncic could carry a franchise to a playoff contention team at least. I think they'll be okay, but I mean, Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan's gonna have to work some magic here in the offseason for some free agents, because they just need to start building the team, building the young talent, start actually combining talent with LaMelo Ball, actually getting good players on their team. I think could do good. 18 though, I feel like it could and should be probably a little bit higher than that. At 17, they have the Golden State Warriors, and I don't agree with this. This should be a lot higher. I mean, Golden State could win a title next year with a fully healthy team. They have one of the best young big men in the NBA with James Wiseman if he does stay healthy. I feel like they have good, draft, picks. Obviously, in the next few years, we have this one right now with 7 and 14. Those going to be two really good players. And even then, I feel like they've done a good job with, obviously, cap space and, being a good market for free agents. I feel like this should be way higher than what it is. This is absolutely wrong. That's not smart. That's not smart. At 16, we have the New York Knicks, and I think obviously with the New York Knicks being, back technically, I can see how this could also, backfire on them. Maybe they're going to be, again, that sort of purgatory team next year where they are not good enough to make the playoffs, but not bad enough to get good draft picks. For the Knicks, it's free agency of 2022 or bust. They need to get a star in the next couple years. Will they, though? I'm not sure, but I think they have a good sort of setup right now, so that, again, them being in sort of that mid-tier of teams makes a lot of sense, and they have good young talent. They're still going to have draft picks and things like that. I think the next thing for them is just being smart with their money. Don't go on a spending spree. Don't pay the players you have already too much. It's going to be a good combination of both things. At 15, we have the New Orleans Pelicans, and I can see that obviously being a team that, has a star in Zion, has good role, well, not role, but good, Robins to the team, obviously with Lonzo Ball if he does stay, and obviously Brandon Ingram being a great player by himself. I think for them, more of this ranking is based off of, what are they going to do with Zion and what to put in place around Zion. And it could be really bad. I mean, obviously the way the team is playing right now is terrible. Stan Van Gundy was a terrible coach of that team. And also the personnel around them with players like Eric Bledsoe and just players who just can't shoot the ball, who can't create space for Zion for what he needs to do is what they really need to go after. So I think getting, sharpshooters, good young talent, have a team to be built, to grow with Zion and his star power, I think is what is most important. If they don't do that, these next 3 years could be, all hype, but no delivery, which is terrifying, at least to say. At 14, we have the Memphis Grizzlies, and I feel like I'm saying this for every team, but I feel like these guys could even be higher as well, because they were just in the playoffs 2 or 3 years after their rebuild, after they got rid of Mike Conley and Marc Gasol. I feel like this team is on a really good track, especially with players sort of coming onto their own, like Jaren Jackson Jr. and even Dylan Brooks, Grayson Allen becoming an actually decent role player, Brandon Clark. I feel like that team is full of good young talent. They're still going to get good draft picks. I mean, obviously Memphis isn't going to be a free agent destination, but the players that are developing right now is really good. So I can see why this could be wrong. I think they could be a lot higher just based off of, the talent they just have right now on their team in the next 3 years. Ooh, and also one that might be a little too low, I'm not sure. At 13, we are already talking about the Dallas Mavericks. Yes, the Dallas Mavericks already at 13. Wow, I mean, obviously, if you're just, looking at Luka Doncic's team is, head and shoulders above where they should be right now. Already being a team that looks like it can maybe compete for a title, but in that conversation is the personnel they acquire. And if this team up Luka Doncic. I mean, Luka could easily go to a New York or, a team like that where they can, Miami Heat, I don't know, a team that can just pay him a bunch of money but also put the right personnel around him. So that's why with Dallas, they're going to get a new head coach. They still have Kristaps Porzingis. What are they going to do with him? Is the team that's built around, Luka good enough already now? Or do they need to make major tweaks to it? I don't know. So that's why the next 3 years for this team is not only in question, but maybe the next 3 years are going to be the most important 3 years of this entire franchise's history, because Luka Doncic has that potential of being one of the greats of the NBA's history. So if they mess up this 3 years, they could really miss out on an opportunity. So at 12, we have the Philadelphia 76ers. And obviously with the Sixers, next year could easily win a title. But in the next 3 years, that could be very interesting. Obviously, again, knocking on wood for this team, injuries is a big thing. Hopefully Joel Embiid can stay healthy. And also with the question of what to do with Ben Simmons. If they keep Ben Simmons, this team will probably not win a title unless Ben Simmons makes some sort of crazy, change to his game, which it seems like that's what everyone is sort of looking for, and it looks like the team is betting on, and that's why he's probably not going to get traded this offseason, because they're betting on Ben Simmons to be a way better player this upcoming year. So if that does happen, that's great. They're probably going to win a title. They could be at least be title contenders, this and that. But if any of those things happen, snap, the dreams, the process is done. It's over with. So it's a very, very, very thin line, and I see why the team is not ranked higher, because it's a lot of ifs and very big things that could happen that could really tear it down. It's kind of scary. Wow. Number 11, they have the LA Clippers at 11. Obviously an older team with, older role players. I can see why they're not ranked, in the top 10 even, because again, they are sort of a win now team. Having Kawhi, having Paul George, they have a very good start to that already. But God, the role players on that team are just not what they used to be, and they're all just getting older. Obviously with, Rondo and Patrick Beverley and the Morris brother, and we had Serge Ibaka last year having big time surgery. Again, I can see why this team's future is not the best. Are they a title contending team? Obviously, but who knows what can happen with that team in the next 3 years. If it's not a title, it's not looking good for them. In the top 10, number 10, we have the Denver Nuggets. I feel like this team could also probably be higher. Obviously having a 26, 27-year-old MVP in Nikola Jokic, having a very good young all-star potential guy in Jamal Murray, who's just seems like he's getting better and better and better. You have a very good young prospect in Michael Porter Jr. who can look like he can be maybe one of the best scorers in the NBA at one point in time. Who knows? He's definitely a bona fide shooter. He's one of the best three-point shooters of last year, percentage-wise, which is totally crazy. The only thing you can really nag about this team is just, drafting or free agency. They're not going to really get anyone in free agency because they play in Denver. No one really wants to go there, no offense. And, they don't have a lot of draft picks. Even their cap space is not even that bad. I think they're doing completely fine. I think they should be higher up on this list. I'm pretty sure, because they're a team that is a title contending team, but is not sort of like a win now team, like a LA Clipper type team, if that makes any sense. This team should be lower. At number 9, they have the Miami Heat. And no offense to any Miami Heat fans out there, I love this team, but this team is just the epitome of win now. Jimmy Butler is like 34, 33, and he's their best player, and the dude only averages like 15 points per game. Sure, they have good young players in like Bam Adebayo, but we saw the fall that Tyler Hero had last year, not what we all thought he was going to be. Even Kendrick Nunn is not really, again, a player we thought he was going to be his rookie year, obviously being a rookie of the year candidate, which is super crazy, but sure, they have good cap space. They're a place free agents want to go. They have a good young star in Bam Adebayo, but other than that, I don't know where this team is really going to go other than this year, it's probably going to be Jalen Suggs. But this team in the next 3 years, I mean, they're not going to be, bad enough to sort of get a good draft pick, and they're not going to be good enough to make the playoffs, at least in my opinion. I have no idea where this team is going to go. I feel like they are going to be in purgatory for the next few years, obviously, with Kyle Lowry probably going to be opting out and leaving. I have no idea. I have no idea what this team is going to be next in the next couple of years. I don't see them being a top 10 sort of, next 3 years type of team, if that makes any sense. At number 7, they have the Atlanta Hawks, and obviously the Hawks having a great postseason this year. This upcoming year, they're probably not going to have sort of that much success, but I think they're still going to have a very good next 3 years. All they just need is to build around Trae Young, whether that's with, another sort of go-to all-star type of guy, or just continuing their player development. I feel like players will want to play in Atlanta. I feel like they have a good draft, sort of picks and things that they could acquire. They have good young assets to trade, like a Cam Reddish or a DeAndre Hunter, Onyeka Okongwu. They have things they can do, and I like the Hawks. I feel like they're going to have a very successful next 3 years. Number 6, we have the Boston Celtics. Obviously, they have Jason Tatum. They have Jaylen Brown. They have Brad Stevens now, sort of at the head of their sort of, organization right now. They have a new head coach, which might bump them down a couple of spots here, which I totally understand. Getting a new head coach is very hard over the next couple years for a franchise, but Celtics, they have one of the best young stars in the NBA, probably one of the best young duos in the NBA. They're going to be completely fine. I can tell you that with a fact. They're going to be completely fine. At number 5, we have the Utah Jazz. I think they should be lower, and I do love Donovan Mitchell. I love, the play of Rudy Gobert in the playoffs, and finally having some sort of scoring role with the team is actually really nice to see. But I'm really, 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 really terrified about the others surrounding Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. Those guys are old, and they're not getting any younger. They're not getting any better. It's not like free agents are going to come to the Utah Jazz. At least I don't think so. So, I mean, sure, next year, are they going to be a title contending team? I think, yes, they could be, but, the next 3 years, man, Mike Conley is going to be out of the league, probably. Bogdanovich is going to be in his late to mid-30s. Joe Ingles is probably going to be out of the league as well. It really just comes down to the role players that are surrounding Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. And if they have a bad couple years, hey, Donovan Mitchell might even opt out, He might ask for a trade. And at number 4, we are finally talking about the Los Angeles Lakers. And I think they should be lower. I think, again, if you're talking about the Clippers being a barely top 10 type of, next 3-year team, I think the Lakers are in the exact same boat now. Of course, they have a younger star player in Anthony Davis who's going to carry on the torch of the Los Angeles Lakers after LeBron retires, which, duh. But after that, what do they have to look forward to in the next 3 years? They have the current NBA champs, Milwaukee Bucks, are going to be good for the next years to come. The Brooklyn Nets, obviously the West is just getting better and better every single year. Sure, next year, are they going to be, title contenders? Obviously, but the longer LeBron gets older and the less, role players and help they have on that team for those star guys, Anthony Davis and LeBron James, there's no way this team is getting, any better. I think this team should be probably a lot lower. 3, we have the Phoenix Suns. Absolutely, yes. This team in their first playoff appearance in years was already in the NBA Finals. So, obviously, Devin Booker and Ayton and all those young guys, McCall Bridges, they're all just going to get better. Obviously, with, the uncertainty of Chris Paul, even if they don't even get Chris Paul back, this team is going to be a great team to watch in the next 3 years. I wouldn't be surprised if we see the Phoenix Suns in the finals again. Mark my words. I think that's a very big possibility. Number 2, they have the Brooklyn Nets, and I can just skip over this one. if the big three of the Brooklyn Nets stick together in the next 3 years, they could win 3 championships in a row. Like, they're obviously that good. KD, Kyrie, James Harden. You could put me and the popcorn guy on that team, and that team is going to win the title. They're so overpowered. They have all the money in the world. They're playing for a title contending team. They have a super team, so everyone is going to want to sign and play with them to win a championship. They might be in the best spot in the NBA, but they're not. And according to this team, according to this article, at number 1, they have the Milwaukee Bucks. And guys, they are wrong. I'm going to disagree. And I'm actually going to say the Brooklyn Nets are in the best case for the next 3 years. Because again, if you have a super team, players and good players, good older players who are veterans, who maybe already have playoff championship caliber players, will play inside for your team for cheap. They already have all the cap space in the world. They play in New York. They have 3 of the biggest names in basketball over the next 3 years. They are definitely the number 1 team. Milwaukee is a good place, obviously coming off and winning a title, very good, but I mean, the entire playoffs last year were completely ruined by injuries, and obviously that Brooklyn Nets Milwaukee Bucks Game 7 was very entertaining, but I mean, if James Harden was even a little bit more healthy, if Kyrie Irving was a little bit more healthy, if KD was had a half-inch shorter shoe that day, it would be the Brooklyn Nets in the finals and probably a Brooklyn Nets championship, maybe even a Phoenix Suns championship, I don't know, but Milwaukee is in a good spot. They do have a good young star in Giannis, but other than that, I don't really see them getting any good free agents over the next 3 years. Sure, are they going to be a title contender for the next 3 years? I think yes, but I don't see them winning a championship unless something like this postseason happens again, which is kind of sad. So yeah, I think that's all 30 teams. I think for a lot of this article, most of it was kind of wrong, and I probably should have just done this myself and made my own list, but I I love looking at the articles, looking at what experts and people who are paid to do this have to say, because most of the time, they're sometimes wrong, but make sure you guys comment down below what you believe your favorite team over the next 3 years is going to look, how good they're going to be, and yeah, I guess that's everything. Make sure you like the video. If you do like the video, so I keep looking over this way. I'm filming my videos in a new way because my mic is broken. I still have to buy a new mic, which is gonna suck. It's gonna be a pretty penny, but you know, it's gonna have to be done. So that sucks. But anyways, I hope to see you guys again very soon. Make sure to subscribe to the channel as well. And bye.